as far as the highest plane of existence, to as far down as the lowest plane. In the entire universe.
Good afternoon, dear brothers and sisters. Okay, Suki Hotu, Datuk Charlie, Suki Hotu, Ayah, Suki Hotu, brothers and sisters. Dear brothers and sisters, may I kindly remind you to keep your mic muted at all times so that we can have a clearer line of communication between all of us. Thank you. Okay, may we invite sister, now I'd like to invite all brothers and sisters to pay respect to the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, and Ayah by bowing 3 times. First bow. Second bow. Third bow. Now, may I invite Ayah to lead us in the taking of refuge and precepts to start our Ariya D.I.G session this afternoon. Next slide. Okay. Looks like we have Ayah? Let's please wait for a while. Yeah, she's frozen.
She's frozen.
Yeah, let's wait for a while.
All right, everyone. So sorry, our internet line was cut off. Thank you for your patience. And so we will do it together again, and let us compose our mind. As we pay salutation to the Triple Gem. So bring your attention within and feel a sense of calm and connectedness to the Buddha, the Blessed One, the Bodhi One, the fully enlightened one, our great teacher, and to the Dhamma, the teaching of the Buddha, the noble eightfold path that leads to the ultimate happiness and freedom, and also to the noble Sangha, the disciples of the Buddha, the field of merits for the world. Araham Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi. Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami. Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sangham Namami. Vandana. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
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 Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Next slide.
Buddhang saranam gacchami.
Buddham saranam gacchami.
Dhammang saranam gacchami.
Dhammam saranam gacchami.
Sangham saranam gacchami.
Sangham saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddham saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddham saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammam saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammam saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi sangham saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi sangham saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddham saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddham saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammam saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammam saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi sangham saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi sangham saranam gacchami.
And the 5 principles of life, the 5 precepts. Panatipata Viramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Panatipata Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Adinnadana Viramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Adinnadana Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Kamesu Michachara Viramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Kamesu Michachara Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Musavada Viramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Musavada Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Surameraya Majjapamadatthana Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Surameraya Majjapamadatthana Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Saranena saha panchasilang dhammang sadhukang surakitang katva appamadena sampadeta
Amaya.
silena sugating yanti silena boga sampada silena nibuting yanti tasma silang visodai.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, Aya.
So all the blessings, huh?
Okay, now may we request Aya to kindly lead us in a quick 5-minute meditation for us to compose ourselves and to proceed mindfully in this Ariya D.I.G session.
So brothers and sisters in the Dhamma, we now sit comfortably and adjust our body to an upright and relaxed position. We call to mind as we gather for a good purpose to come together. So find peace in our mind and also to learn to practice the Dhamma for our well-being, for the well-being of others. Now for this moment, just put down all the tightness and all the hardness and bring our attention to our body. Take 3 times of deep breath. As you breathe in deeply, and breathe out. Be fully aware of your in-breath and out-breath. Breathing in, just well-wish yourself to be well. Breathe it out. Relax. Breathing in deep into your abdomen. Breathing out slightly stronger from your nose. Breathing in, well-wish yourself to be well. Breathing out, relax. Now make an effort. When you breathe in, just breathe in with a smile into your heart. Breathing out with happiness and relax. Now as your heart becomes calm and peaceful, filled with love and kindness, just like each and every one wish to be well and happy. We also well wish that all the participants in Ariya to be well and happy. The Ariya members be well and happy. Also, may all your family members, wherever they are, be well and happy. And may all beings be well and happy. Now maintaining the calmness of your mind, the clarity in mind, and the love for Dhamma. We now return our attention back to our body. Again, take 3 times of deep breath. As you breathe in, keep a smile on the lips. As you breathe out, be fully alert. Now bring your attention to your eyes. And when you're ready, you may open up your eyes wide awake. So thank you for your participation. Sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you very much, Aya. Okay, next slide, sister. Okay, so now, brothers and sisters, welcome to the second session of Ariya D.I.G's program. Okay, so just like last week, you will be placed in your respective breakout rooms and you'll be preparing presentations. After the session is over in the breakout rooms, we'll come back to the main group and each group will present what they have discovered. Next slide, Sister Andrea. Okay, so brothers and sisters, here's a quick reminder on our questions for today. Number one, how did the Buddha teach us to acquire, enhance, and sustain wealth? Number two, how have you acquired, enhanced, and sustained wealth in the past? So we'll all come back here at 2:45 p.m. Sister Andrea will now assign everyone into their respective groups. We'll invite Aya and Datuk Charlie to join in whichever group they wish. It's now time for us to discuss, okay, for each group to present what they have discovered. Okay, so can we please have a volunteer to start? Group one, anybody from group one? No? Oh, Sister Sinloy? Okay. Okay, over to you, sister. Please unmute your mic.
Sister Junli supposed to read it out.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. I forgot to unmute my mic. Okay, I can't really see now my class. So, okay, thank you. All right, so this is what we have dig out from our first group. Okay, we talk about what the Buddha has what the Buddha taught us to acquire, enhance, and sustain wealth. So to acquire wealth from the suttas given in the Google Classrooms, these are some of the suttas parts of the suttas that we've come up with. Here, the Buddha says, the Lord Buddha says that there are householder, 4 things that lead to obtaining these 4 things. So these 4 things that we want are really wealth, fame, long life, and a good rebirth. So what do we have to do to acquire all this? We have to be accomplished in faith, virtuous behavior, accomplishment in generosity, and also in wisdom. Okay, he also added another 4, where he says there must be accomplishment in initiative, protection, a good friendship, balanced living, in addition to the 4. In acquiring, I think also in enhancing and sustaining as well, because faith, virtuous behavior, generosity, and wisdom, I think we talked about that in the last discussion. So when we go deeper into the sutta, to enhance wealth, they say what is balanced living? Basically, a clansman means anyone who knows your income and your expenditure. So you lead a balanced life. Basically, talking about you don't spend too much, you don't become too kadoko also. So by then you are able to enhance your wealth. So someone who's good in budgeting are basically what they earn and what they spend. They have to be careful. This is how they enhance. And to sustain wealth, according to the Buddha, you have to be accomplished in protection. So what do you do? Then when you already acquire all this initiative and energy, you have to think about how to prevent king and thieves from taking it. Probably, pay your taxes, fires from burning it, floods from sweeping it off. In the old days, I guess you must know which area they are flooded. You don't go and put your welfare, I guess, right? This is accomplishment in protection. So for the second question, this is our own experience. So we divided it into material wealth and spiritual wealth. For material wealth, we talk about We should use our own skills and of course also choose the right livelihood. Basically, acquiring wealth, it means that we don't acquire wealth in the wrong ways, like drug trafficking and all that. That's right livelihood is, the law will not come against us and we are ethical in it. Of course, we have to work diligently, and when we are working, also we carry out our 5 precepts when we work, so we can enhance our wealth. And if we pay our tax time, so we sustain our wealth, and we don't have to pay the penalty. Basically, we pay our income tax or whatever time or whatever company tax or time. So of course, to sustain our wealth, this is protection. We keep our wealth properly in bank, not show off, I guess. And we also get some insurance to protect from fire and flood. So in terms of spiritual wealth, okay, personal experience is when we observe the triple gem of fire, okay, and we will sustain. So by practicing the 5 precepts and the 8 precepts, we sustain and enhance our spiritual wealth, become stronger. The 5 precepts we have to keep every day as a normal lay person. 8 precepts is on certain days, so we can enhance it. Also, when we listen to the Dhamma, so that we can acquire spiritual wealth, especially to understand the Four Noble Truth and enhance it as well. Because different times when we listen, and even the same Dhamma talk, we learn different things. Then we can practice the Noble Eightfold Path, again, enhance and sustain. Okay, and meditation is also part of the Noble Eightfold Path. So that is also under acquire, enhance, and sustain. Then when we read the suttas, we are acquiring our spiritual wealth as well, enhancing, because we're learning more. Sometimes when we read, we say, actually, this is what the Buddha meant. We don't know. So we enhance our knowledge or build on our knowledge. So that's all from group 1. Thank you very much. Sister.
Okay, thank you very much to group 1. Okay, can we now have somebody from group 2 to present their what they have discussed?
Sister Puisi?
Hello, yes. Okay.
Sister Puisi, you want to share screen?
Yeah. Yes.
Andrea?
Yes, this one. Yeah. Okay. For our discussion, this is what we gathered around. So, how did the Buddha teach us to acquire and enhance the sustain well? So, I guess before we start acquiring well, I guess all of us should practice avoid doing evil. Most of us agree that avoid doing evil, that is we all practice the 5 precepts. So when we are acquiring our wealth, we make sure that in the process of acquiring our wealth, we don't kill, we don't cheat, okay? So we don't tell so this is how we are getting the wealth through honest means. So and of course from through when we acquire the wealth, we have to also follow the Noble Eightfold Path, and then at the same time when to sustain the wealth, we from the wealth that we gain, we also have to remember that we have our own responsibility to look after our own family, friends, and relatives, and all this. At the same time, also we have to do our own meritorious deeds, generosity and dana, and all this. And from beside this, we also need to make sure that the friends that we mix around are wholesome friends that will motivate us, that will give us the correct motivation, the correct path, the correct encouragements. So mixing with the wrong friends also will make us lose our wealth. And for the next question, from the discussion that we gather is, of course, most of us, we do have a proper, job. Most of us have proper job, and then we have a fixed salary from our teaching profession, and then from our own, we work hard, and then from our own diligence and our own commitment, and making sure that we keep on, we whatever that we do, we have our own conscious, and then we make sure that we fulfill our own commitment and our own responsibility too. And at the same time, while we are, as a lay person, we do have our own responsibility that we have. Sometimes we spend for our own needs and wants, but we also at the same time we have to be more control in our own spending. We don't overspend, and then making sure that what we spend is what we need, and we don't overbuy, overindulge ourselves using our wealth. Okay. Yes, that's all. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Sister Puisi. Now, can we please have Brother Chris from Group 3 to present?
Hi everyone. Basically, I didn't. So for question 1, everyone shared their viewpoints and from the suttas. So how do we create and acquire wealth is through skillful and diligent, being skillful and diligent. And of course, this is what is called the energetic striving. So this is from Anguttara's Nikaya 8.76. And we do this by developing and being very diligent in developing our skills, whether in trade, farm, or any other craft. So we enhance our wealth by having so this is basically how we acquire and enhance our wealth. So in terms of protecting and sustaining our wealth, we do this by having accomplishments in balanced living, making sure that we don't overindulge in our expenditure, in our lifestyle, but also not too frugal, so this is the middle way. Then we also be accomplished in protection, guarding our wealth from bad friendship, bad comradeship, and womanizing. This is stated in Anguttara Nikaya 8.54. So in terms of our individual experiences for question 2, how have we acquired and sustained our wealth from the past? Most of us actually we have been diligent developing our craft. One mentioned they do attend a lot of seminars, networking events, having good friendships, developing their friendships and connections. Like for myself, I managed to accumulate some wealth in the real estate before going to another business where I did not follow the AN 8.54, so I learned a huge lesson there. I lost almost all my wealth which I earned from real estate in the business, which closed down last year. So also and mainly like the one of us mentioned there is a couple that gain their wealth by working very, very hard, energetic striving. And also I believe this can be considered as a good comradeship. So this is a good partnership, good comradeship. So yes, so most of us basically have been very diligent in the past before. Thank you. This is my presentation.
Thank you very much, Brother Chris. Okay. Sister Andrea. Thank you, Sister Andrea. Okay, so we have heard all three presentations from our fellow brothers and sisters. Okay, now let's move on to the next session. Next slide, please, Sister Andrea. Okay, it is our presentation by our Dhamma speaker. Now allow me to introduce our speaker of the day, Datuk Charlie Chia. Datuk Charlie Chia is currently practicing as an advocate and solicitor and an independent director of listed construction company GDB Holdings Berhad. In the Dhamma Circle, Datuk Charlie is a prominent speaker who has shared his wealth of knowledge with many. So it is with great pleasure that we invite Datuk Charlie Chia to deliver his talk. Datuk Charlie, over to you.
Okay, a very good afternoon to all our brothers and sisters, and welcome back for the second session. Today is the second session, and I think let me share the screen. Can you all see it?
Yes, we can see Datuk.
Okay, good. Now, I think session 2 basically is what you all have been discussing in your breakout rooms, and basically trying to understand from the sutras, how did the Buddha teach us on the method of acquisition of wealth and enhance and then sustain the wealth itself. And I think in one of our breakout rooms, I was asked this question, that whether we should be discussing on the wealth of that we gain from spiritual, the wealth that we gain from the efforts and the ability to perform all these charities, is it considered as wealth? And I was more or less of the opinion that throughout this 4-week session, we basically want to talk about accumulation of material wealth rather than the other, kinds of wealth. And we focus on accumulation of material wealth that actually contributes towards our well-being and also our needs and necessities. And at the same time, what are the advice given by the Buddha while we are pursuing this material wealth itself, right? Now, I think there was this question that was asked and also answered last week, is whether it is wrong to pursue wealth being a Buddhist. I think a lot of misunderstanding has actually come about to say that the moment you commit yourself to become a Buddhist disciple, you are actually on the verge of trying to renounce, or you are on the verge of trying to give up as much as you can so that you can simplify your life, so that you can be very called asset light, and in order to accumulate a lot of philosophies to become more peaceful and more calm and more satisfied. But that understanding is good, provided we are not the extremes in trying to give up all the pursuits of wealth, and to a certain extent, until we give up our jobs, we give up our livelihood and our business, we give up our material possessions, and then adopt a very recluse and hermit way of life. So we have to cultivate this understanding that it is not wrong, right? It is not wrong to be wealthy, so that you don't feel guilty when you are wealthy. A lot of people, when they are wealthy and after listening to a Dhamma, there's a sense of guilty, feelings. And because there is this constant idea in the mind to say that rich people are always not good people, because they must have accumulated their wealth in the wrong way, accumulate their wealth illegitimately, and at the same time, they were rich, but they actually pursued a lot of other unwholesome activities. So in the Adiya Sutta itself, the Buddha has advised, that go ahead, be a layman, and that's why he introduced the ethics, the teachings, as well as also encourage the laymen to continue to live their good life, but at the same time understand the Dhamma slowly, accumulate the Dhamma in order to be able to understand all the purposes and all the intricacies of attachments. So he does not say that as long as you want to renounce, then only you can be a Buddhist. So he has divided the Sangha into, you have the renunciates, and you also have the laity. That's why you call it the fourfold Sangha. Now, I think in both the traditions, Theravada or Mahayana, it has always been taught that it is not wrong to accumulate or create wealth in material sense, and at the same time have a purpose to share it, to partake with it as a form of dana. Dana means you have contributed towards the sasana, contribute towards the needy, contributes towards the welfare of others. There is also this accumulation of wealth that is good as long as one remains unattached to it. In other words, you may be wealthy and you have understood that you are now a rich person, having all the possessions and the surpluses, but your mind is actually ready to sort of partake with it, ready to give it away if you need so. And that's one of the important lessons that we learn. Now, at the same time also, you need to also learn how to use your wealth. So not only do you acquire, you also need to use it for proper purposes. And I think there is a list here that you can see, where if you were to spend it on your basic necessities like food, clothing, right, medicine, maintain your parents well, wife, children, and servants. You also have enough to take care of yourself when you are ill and sick and emergencies. And also you do a lot of charities as much as you can. So you perform all this, not only to yourself or not only to your immediate family, you also do it to your relatives. You also treat your visitors in similar manner. You also offer alms in memory of their departed relatives. When these merits that you accrue can contribute towards their well-being. And also understanding that you are also protected and guided by your guardian deities, your protection devas. You would like to share all the merits that you have accrued with them. And lastly, of course, respect the earthly domains that you have, the country that you live, the community that you are, what you call, involved in. Pay your tax and pay your dues. Pay your fees if you necessary. And this is actually very highlighted in the Patakama Sutta, where the role of wealth is to provide for your adequate basic needs. Remember when we were mentioning 2 weeks ago that you are only wealthy when you are able to afford your basic needs and yet still have surpluses. That means a basic need for your desired lifestyles, but not to the extent that it encourages greed and indulgence. So we have these 3 types of wealth seekers. There are many wealth seekers who seek wealth improperly and do not spend their wealth on their comfort. They are a miser. They just become wealthy and then they spend very frugally on themselves. And this is not encouraged. And there are people who are wealthy yet they do not give alms and do not make merits. And there are another type of wealth seekers where they seek wealth improperly and selfishly, and then they spend the wealth for their comfort, or the illegal procurement, but they spend it on themselves, but yet still do not give alms and do not make merit. And of course, there's one category of wealth seekers who seek wealth improperly and selfishly, but spend the wealth on their comfort, give alms, and make merry. But looking at all these three, they actually accumulate wealth improperly and selfishly. But there's three types. So even if you are the third type, it's not said that you have actually sort of redeemed yourself by being able to have improper wealth, yet spend on comfort, give alms, and make merry. Then you are absolved of all karmas. You are still have to face the karma itself. So that is where we all talk about the blind, the one-eyed, and the two-eyed. And I think in comparison, we see the Buddha advice on the two-eyed. That means you have your both eyes open. That of what sort monks is the two-eyed? In this case, a certain person has both the eye to acquire wealth unattained and the eye to make wealth he has increased, and the eye to see states that are good and bad, and to see states that are blameworthy and praiseworthy, states which are mean or exalted, states which resemble the light and the darkness. So if you are able to have that wisdom accumulated as a result of acquiring your wealth, then you are said to be a two-eyed wealth seeker. So I think while we are talking about the innocence and also the non-guilty feelings of wealth, we must also learn the various methods expounded by the Buddha and says, okay, you want to accumulate wealth, so be it, but you must be able to do it in the correct way. So when we talk about accumulation of wealth, the Buddha has actually laid in the Vanija Sutta, right, that there are 5 types of livelihood which you should not get involved. And the first one is because you trade in weapons, because that would instigate war, and then you will hurt a lot of people. Second is when you trade in human beings, human trafficking, slavery, illegal immigrations. If you are involved in that, you create a lot of suffering. Third is trade in flesh, when you are involved in slaughtering and butchering, and then selling the flesh itself. Fourth is the trade in spirits, intoxication, right? And that includes drugs. And lastly, of course, trade in poison, where you are doing drug trafficking and illegal medication. So when you have involved yourself in these 5 wrong livelihood, though you may be wealthy as a result, but unfortunately, the mind is never at peace. Even though you are what we call the 3 types of wealth seekers in this manner, and yet you still do a lot of charities, you are never redeemed. So avoid it at all costs. So of course, the wrong livelihood, the Buddha has pointed out that there is also not only the 5 wrong livelihoods, it also includes things that you do during your livelihood. And in the Maha Chattarisa Sutta, there are 5 wrong actions that you can do when you are involved in your livelihood. One of them is scheming to what you call deceive, scheming to cheat others, scheming to deprive others. And the second one, of course, is a lot of flattery and persuading and a lot of what you call talking as a result of trying to encourage some advantage. So this is called a tripod. You are trying to fan a tripod. Then when you do a lot of hinting and foretelling of things that is not happening yet, but you actually speculate on it, then that is also not a good trade practice. Fourthly, you disparage others, you belittle others. You do not give people their dues and their credits. And fifthly, is when you pursue gain with gain. and especially for loan sharks. When you try to, what you call, ask people to gain more money by giving them the money, and at the end, they might not be able to pay back. So when we talk about wealth generation, the Buddha advised that there are many livelihoods where we can generate and accumulate wealth. And here we list 6 of them. Of course, the first one is there are many salaried people where they earn a wage because of their profession, because of their skills, because of their trade knowledge. The other one is, of course, is from fees and remuneration and commissions when you render your services. Third, of course, is the interest earned from savings and deposits, where you sustain it, and that is a form of sustenance, where whatever you earn, you would like to make sure that it earn interest by keeping in savings accounts or deposit accounts, or you might want to involve yourself with fixed assets, where you earn rentals and lease. Then return and use from investments and shares, where you have invested in businesses. Then you get dividends from your business ventures. So there is this acquisition as well as also the increase and the sustenance of it and the protection of it at the end of the day. So we can actually talk about it. It becomes what we call a financial planning kind of talk. I remember when I was conducting this topic in the Dhamma works, it became what you call questions, a lot of questions asked, how shall I do this? What kind of property can I buy? What kind of shares can I look into? And what is the, what you call, skills in order to develop, to accumulate wealth through these methods? But these are some of the ideas. That there are many times when we not only depend on salaries and wages, we also think of doing business. And I think we are encouraging a lot of our young people to go into entrepreneurship, where it is a good form of wealth generation, though they may be having calculated financial risk. But when you are salaried, it's very stagnant. But as entrepreneurs, you have a chance to accumulate more as a result. But many people think that Buddhism is impractical, you cannot mix it with business, therefore you should try and avoid and not go into this area. But this is the way where if we want to sustain a community which is wealthy enough to support the sasana, we have to encourage all our young people to go into this entrepreneurship. And in the course of doing business, there are many principles that we need to adopt. First, of course, is your mind must be focused and powerful. In other words, when you are on the job, when you're facing your client, when you are actually doing a project, or when you are doing a presentation, mind control and mind focused is very important. I remember when a lot of times you see some Japanese negotiators who comes in, and you realize that before they come into the negotiation room, they were in the next room, sitting down, focus their mind, meditating. And then after they have finished, they then come into our room and they start talking. Very focused and very, what you call, straightforward in the way that they present their views, and very clear. And they are able to convince, they are able to persuade. So when you want to do business, make sure that your mind is focused. And I think we are all good by our training, where we are able to have the ability to cultivate our minds, calm down our minds, and then be able to focus and be one-pointed. The importance of right understanding is also important. Because if you don't have the right understanding about the processes, about the plus and minus, about the pro and the cons, you may not be able to make the right decision. So right understanding means you have the ability to see the right from wrong. You are able to have the ability to pursue the correct path. Compassion in business and ethics. These are actually good qualities that establish a person in the wealth accumulation. And when you have compassion, you would not have the heart to hurt the other party, to cheat the other party, or to give wrong information to the other party. And that becomes very much in ethics. And whenever you see the other person not being able to be successful or not being able to prosper as a result, there is this compassionate attitude that you must help them. You must remove their suffering. Think big, start small. Right? There is a lot of people who think big and start big, and then they get themselves into trouble. So in business, yes, you can have ambitions. You can have the biggest idea, but always start step by step. Phases, if possible. Phase it out. And we also understand that we are connected with everything around us. What comes around goes around. And so we believe that we are all part and parcel of these universal energies that is helping each other, because anything that affects us will affect others. And anything that affects others will also affect us. So when we understand this concept, we will then tend to be more mellowed and more understanding in dealing with other people. So these are philosophies in business, which if you were to discuss carefully, they are actually very related to our Buddhist concept of compassion, of altruistic joys, of what you call a lot of happy feelings at the end of the day. So at the same time, develop what we call upekkha. Equanimity of mind helps to solve a lot of problems. When our mind is not focused, we tend to make a lot of mistakes. So in order to make the correct decision, the mind must be at peace, the mind must be calm, and the mind must be focused. So in short, I'm encouraging a lot of our Buddhist youth and a lot of our Buddhist community to go into business, be successful entrepreneur, be your boss, but at the same time, adopt a lot of our Buddhist ethics, and you will never go wrong, and you will never be deprived of your dividends and profits. And you will get respect. You will get a lot of confirmation to help, to support, to give us the opportunities. So if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, to accumulate wealth, then that is one of the ways, by developing the few principles that we think of. So of course, I will stop here and encourage you to discuss and try to relate it with the suttas that you are studying. I think you have quite a lot of related suttas where we talk about the various acquisition of wealth, especially in Anguttara Nikaya 4.61, which is the Pattakama Sutta, where we have earlier mentioned, when you talk about worthy deeds or worthy actions. And I think many of you have already discussed this in your break-up rooms, right? Now, I especially like to bring you to the Pattakama Sutta, where it talks about, I've enjoyed wealth, supported my dependents, and overcome adversities. I've given an uplifting offering, and yet performed the 5 oblations, the 5 precepts. I performed dana, served the virtuous monks, the self-controlled celibate ones. I have also achieved whatever purpose For as a wise man, dwelling at home might have in desiring wealth, and what I've done brings me no regrets. In other words, your action, your livelihood is all in the right frame, right livelihoods. So recollecting this, a mortal remains firm in the noble Dhamma. They will praise him here in this life, and after death, he rejoices in the heavens. There's also this sutta called D.I.G Sutta. I think you have also, most of you have discussed this, where it talks about the accomplishment of initiatives, accomplishment of protection. You have also the Satka Sutta, which also talks about that when you accumulate wealth, you must experience happiness permanently, because some of this wealth gives rise only to sensual pleasures, which are impermanent, empty, and false. So if you study in more detail, then you'll get more understanding from this. Then, of course, you have the Kamabhogi Sutta, where you talk about sensual pleasures and how those who seek wealth righteously and unrighteously, and those who enjoy sensual pleasures as a result of it, if you can actually do it without violence, without encouraging violence, then you will make yourself happy and pleased. And when you share your wealth and do a lot of meritorious deeds, the wealth becomes very meaningful. So in the Kamabhogi Sutta, you have the various clauses where I believe we do not want to go in more detail here, since you are already on the discussion and this, the sutta classes. And there is also a few suttas that talks about the ways conducive to wealth. Like, for example, the Asapuri Sapadana Sutta, where it talks about the 5 gifts of a good person, right? When a person gives casually, he gives without reverence, he does not give with his own hand, and he then gives without a view about the returns of giving. So these are the 5 gifts of a bad person. But Buddha says there are 5 gifts of a good person. He gives very respectfully. He gives with reverence. He gives with his own hand. He gives what would not be discarded. And he gives with a view about the returns of giving. That means he understood the act of giving. So these are the 5 gifts of a good person. And also, basically in this sutta itself, you talk about the various scenarios of how when you have given a gift out of faith, given a gift respectfully, given a timely gift, given a gift unreservedly, given a gift without injuring others, this gives rise to a lot of joys. Now we also have the Digajanu Sutta, which talks about the various way of balanced living. Remember, when you are wealthy, spend it, use it for yourself as well as for the betterment of others. Then there are the 4 things which you can do, that will lead to the welfare and happiness. And that is the 4 sources of accretion. You must also avoid womanizing, drunkenness, gambling, but instead cultivate good friendship, good companionship, good comradeship, as if that this was actually a reservoir where you accumulate all your merits And then you use these merits for your improvement of life. And lastly, of course, to talk about protection, there are few suttas. The Duty Sampada Sutta, Dutiya Sampada Sutta basically talks about accomplishments. And I think we mentioned about the 4 accomplishments. And this is one particular one, is the accomplishment of protection, where you need to protect what you have made, what you have earned. But to protect it, you must be able to prevent kings and thieves from taking it. Protect it from burn, from fire. Protect it from floods. And lastly is protect it from displeasing heirs who will actually sort of wasted your inheritance. So this, again, you can read it in more detail. So with that, thank you very much. And we will hope to invite a lot of discussion on what we have discussed in the suttas and what I would like to share with you. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Datuk. Okay, so Datuk has shared with us, okay, that we should spend our money in moderation. You don't be a miser, but at the same time, don't spend your money lavishly. Datuk has also shared with us his tips on financial planning, the types of livelihoods that we should avoid, okay, and Buddhist principles in business. Okay, Sister Andra, can you please share slide? Okay, so now, dear brothers and sisters, okay, this is your opportunity to ask Datuk any questions that you may have. Okay, it's time for you to clarify your doubts. Okay, so brothers and sisters, do you have any questions? Okay, all right. Looks like we don't have any. Okay, if you are not comfortable with turning on your mic, you can also type your questions in the group chat.
Dato, I got a question to ask. Since just now, like, it's like our duty to pay tax, which is right. We stay in this country, we have to pay tax. But like for company tax, as all of us know, the higher you gain, the more tax you pay. So is it right or wrong? You earn your money, your profit from the righteous way. However, if IRB would like to come and like tax you, for example, my company, they came 3 people for 3 days. They couldn't find anything, but because they have to meet their KPI, they still give me a small fine. Like they say, oh, this one you keyed wrongly. But instead of teaching us and give us a chance to amend the problem, amend the correction, I would say, they give me a fine. I have to just swallow and pay for it. So shall I keep challenge and just swallow, let go? I mean, I know our government is somehow like that, not too radical sometimes.
Okay, yeah, basically, we all know that the IRB also have their KPIs. So I think in the last few years, many of them actually, what do you call, have targets. So they will try by all means, very diligently, try to discover a lot of, what do you call, slipped up, probably slip up, you call it a slip up, that certain tax you have not been paying and you have missed out, and probably they want to collect back taxes. But remember this, that there are 2 things in life which you cannot escape. One is called death. The other one is called tax. So you will have to face them whether you are at the last corner of your life. You will never be able to escape these two things. So pay your dues, pay your tax. But remember when we were talking about the protection, accomplishment of protection, and that when you have the wealth, you have to protect it. But protection doesn't mean to cheat. Protection means using your, what you call best skills and best knowledge, that there are many ways that you actually don't have to pay that kind of tax. And you then sort of like, when the IRB comes in, you are able to defend, you are able to justify, you are able to explain why your revenue is so much and therefore your tax is so much. And some of the companies actually have engaged quite a number of good tax consultants who are able to identify the various areas where there is a distinguishing. And secondly, of course, even worse come to the worst, that you have been slapped with a heavy tax, then you may have to actually do what do you call an appeal to the tribunal. Now, I think all taxpayers knows about the tribunal, that you can submit your justification, you submit your evidence to the tribunal and explain why certain tax should not be imposed on your business or on your, what you call, wealth. And most of the time, the tribunal are quite fair. Of course, even after the tribunal, you are allowed one judicial review, which means you can go up to the courts and get a judicial review and see whether you can, what do you call, get a concession or get a rebate or even be, what do you call, get off from paying. I remember in the very last 1 or 2 months, we had this problem about, I'm also as, what do you call, working as a developer. And you know, developers, when we develop, we have houses. When we sell, we must sell a certain percentage to Bumiputra because there's a quota. And of course, you have to sell it at a discount. But even with the discount and even with the quota, you find that it's very difficult to sell Bumiputra units. So there are some mechanism in certain states, what they call administration, that allows the payment, right? Allows the, a payment of a certain amount in order to get the Bumiputra quota released so that you can sell to the non-Bumiputra. And that was fine. Some states allow, and then some states impose a sum, you paid the sum, units are being released, you sold. Then when you come to your, what you call, tax returns, you put it as a deduction because you actually paid a certain expense. And that amount of money is paid to the government. So you say that that was a cost for releasing, and therefore you want a tax rebate. But unfortunately, you know, if you don't use your ingenuity, the IRB will then come in and says, no, that one is a penalty, and a penalty are not deductible. Therefore, when you release your unit, you actually paid a penalty. So we need to get a good tax agent or good consultant to argue with the authorities and IRB to say that no, it was not a penalty. It was only like a quid pro quo for that unit. If I were to give a discount to the Bumiputra, I were to give, say, 15%. But instead, when I get the unit release, I pay you 7.5, and you pay me, and I get 7.5. So therefore, both sides win. So you cannot call that penalty. So the ingenuity of trying to explain and come up with all the evidence and supports cases is to try and convince the judicial review and says, no, it should not be taxed. It should be also treated as a deduction. So when you pay tax, you can sometimes create this kind of arguments, but that is your ingenuity. So tax, you have to pay, but you have to protect your revenue, whatever you earn, whatever wealth you accumulated, you pay dues, but you don't pay which are not due. So wisdom again is involved. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Datuk and Sister Nicole. Okay, are there any other questions from the audience?
I actually want to ask every participant your views on this. That when you are involved in the accumulation of wealth, in the back of your mind, you will have to actually observe your precepts, isn't it? And sometimes when we are selling and when we are introducing our products, you have to actually tell the truth. But sometimes if you tell the truth, your products cannot sell. Then what happens? So it boils down to the understanding of your 5 precepts. How are you going to observe your precepts and tell the truth, but yet cannot sell? Any one of you have experienced this? Especially those who are involved in sales and marketing. The product is not that good, but you have to say until how good it is in order to be able to sell.
Sorry, Datuk, I'm Sin Loy. If I'm faced with such a situation, I will not sell the product, and I will focus on other products which I can tell the truth and also sell it.
But what you call, you really got to be selective in the sale of the products itself.
Yes.
And you don't sell any products that is in the market. Okay, any other views?
For myself, if let's say I'm kind of forced to sell something which I don't quite believe in, what I can do is, because whatever product it is or service it could be, they always have good points. So I just focus on the good. Sorry?
You always highlight the good points.
Yeah, highlight the good ones. Yes, and when they find the bad points, I also don't say it doesn't exist. I would also, I just kind of, I acknowledge it is. Then I refocus back on and accentuate the good points even more.
So in other words, you are saying there are more good points than bad points. Therefore, the product should be okay.
Yes.
Any other views?
Well, Datuk.
Yeah.
Okay. If a product, well, I think as when we do sales, I would emphasize on all the benefit and the good things on the product. But if the customer somehow they ask a question and then it touches on the weaknesses of the product, I will also acknowledge it. But I will acknowledge there's such a weaknesses, but the decision making will go back to the customer. Is it? You know, every product has its own price. Every product comes with its own price. Always, a very good product will come with a higher pricing, and a very lower value product will come at a lower pricing. So in the end, I'll just let the choosing give it back to the customer. I say you have the choice, you can choose this kind of thing.
So in other words, put it this way, be truthful. Be truthful, and this is actually one of your ethics. You say things which do not hurt others, right? And you say things which encourage. But if the product is weak, then admit that it's weak, and then leave the decision to the purchaser or the consumer to decide whether they want to purchase after you have explained. Is that correct?
Yes, because I believe that every consumer will have, they have their own intelligence in choosing it, because everyone have their own budgets also. I wouldn't want to undermine their intelligence in choosing the product. I wouldn't force it also.
Yeah, because put it this way, there's no product which is perfect. In other words, no matter how much you say, there is always possibly some weaknesses or some cons that you have to admit that yes, this product has this but we would like to show how this product can benefit you with all the pros. And at the same time, of course, if the person says, well, I'm able to accept it, then he purchased the product. But tell the truth. Don't hide it. Otherwise, you will be committing one of the breach of the 5 precepts. Okay, now let me go into the earlier Buddhist ethics. And I think there is this ethics which talks about the compassion itself. Because this is quite important, because at the end of the day, when you don't have compassion, you will tend to be a very hard businessman, and you don't seem to care whether that person is going to lose money as a result. And you say your loss is your loss, and my gain is my gain, and therefore I don't develop any compassion or mercy for that matter. So do you face with any circumstances like this, or do you think that compassion should not be seen as a weakness? Because the moment you are seen as a weakness, then a lot of people may abuse it and then comes to you and return your goods to you, and also at the same time, to a certain extent, cheat you. So what is your view on this? Compassion in a business. Anyone would like to share? No?
Dr. Charlie, I'd like to share.
Okay.
I'm Sinloy. Yeah. Compassion in business shouldn't be an abuse by others. If our compassion is being abused by others, that means we are not wise enough to practice that compassion in business. So compassion should also accompanied by wisdom and the right knowledge when we practice the compassion. That's my view.
That means you will be able to help others mitigate their losses, but at the same time, if they have to face the music, they have to face the music. So
yeah,
they don't
say it truthfully lah. If they want to have a tantrum, I also cannot help lah. Right? So I just have to say it truthfully, stand my ground. But of course, in the first place, I already tell the truth before they buy anything or before I provide any services. Give them ample time for their Q&A along the way. Yeah. And do my best in answering their question. If I really don't know, I will tell them I don't know. I'll go and find the answer and get back to them. So if later on they want to come back and turn on me for whatever intention or purpose that they have, then I have to defend myself lah.
True. Because compassion, actually, put it this way, there is always this possibility of your clients or your consumers who will suffer a loss, and they may not be able to pay you. And thus, if you were to insist on payments, then there is a possibility that they will fold up, and at the same time, then you will not be able to get your money. But if you have a compassion for this and says, okay, since you are suffering, I'm willing to actually accommodate, but then there must be wisdom in what we do. You have to actually agree on some other quid pro quo measures, whether you have to mitigate it, whether you have to show some signs of improvement, whether you have to show some signs of what you call accommodation of the situation that you are in. Until and unless that is done, then compassionate enough, I'm willing to let you owe the money for the time being, but you will then have to actually indicate some positivity in this aspect. But a lot of times when you show this kind of compassion, there is a possibility that the other party will treat as if like, you are willing to sort of like let go of your demands, and thus they will be able to then to slowly squeeze their way and get scot-free out. So compassion must always, like you said correctly, accompanied with wisdom. Because compassion without wisdom actually is a one-way street. At the end of the day, others may benefit at your loss. And remember, when we talk about the Buddha's teaching of right action always arrive from any action that you do must benefit yourself, then must benefit others. Any action that benefit yourself don't benefit others, no. Any action that benefit others don't benefit yourself, no. Any action that don't benefit yourself and others, or that one surely no. So we must always do action that benefits both parties. So compassion also must be practiced with a kind of wisdom. Okay? Any other questions? Focus mind. There is one principle that is very much in line with us Buddhists, that whenever we are in business itself, you have to have a focused mind. Even in your negotiation, even in your, what you call the dealings, and even in your facing out with the clients and consumers. How is your state of mind important? Any views?
Hi, Datuk.
Hi.
Charlie, here.
Madam.
Regarding this focused mind, I like to also share my experience that whenever I have any important meetings or I face with any problems or whatsoever, I always like to do metta, transfer of sharing of merits. I find that this is very useful.
Because it keeps your mind calm and peaceful.
Correct. Yeah.
And you are able to then accept things in slow motion. Rather than be agitated and subsequently you then get muddled up in the thinking and then make the wrong decision.
Yeah.
And actually that applies to me, you know. Every time before I go for our meetings, I always have to have at least 10 minutes where I'll sit down, watch my breath, focus my mind, calm myself down, and then you find that a lot of productive thinking can happen.
Correct.
So
sometimes I even do it a night before the meeting.
Before the meeting, that's right.
Yeah, I will do metta and share metta with all the people that I'm going to meet, and also have in mind that of course we have to be prepared with our work first. We must know our job, what we are doing. But by sharing the mettas, when you walk into the meeting rooms, you know, you meet up with all the even your own company directors or those investors relations functions that I have been handling. Those are the people whom we do not know. We might be meeting them for the first time. I keep on radiating metta. And I find that by doing that, the meeting is very smooth and all that. This is my sharing.
Great.
Thank you.
I think this should be practiced by all our Buddhist business people. And at the same time, it actually helps a lot to pacify situations and to ensure a meeting is smooth. And you don't see everybody inside the meeting room as enemies or as people whom you don't like. You say that I like everyone.
Yeah.
And everybody is kind, everybody is gentle, everybody is compassionate. And once we get that kind of atmosphere, ambience, you'll find that it's easier to talk and you don't get easily provoked. You don't lose your temper, right? And you say, well, no, I like the person, why should I be angry with that person? So he can say what he wants, but at the end of the day, I should respond fruitfully and in a calm manner. And that actually helps a lot of business transactions. And I'm actually a strong advocate. Even during my, training sessions with my staff, I will always tell them that, you know, let's have 5 minutes or 10 minutes, you know, let's keep ourselves calm and peaceful and just watch our breath. Because I think if we talk about metta, they probably would not accept, because most of them are either other races or other religions. But as long as we can say, keep your breath, watch your breath, and this seems to be a very neutral subject, everybody will follow. And then you find the meeting goes very smoothly. Okay, I think basically the time is up. I hope that you have gained some pointers, and probably we will meet again in 2 weeks' time to continue. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Datuk Charlie. Okay, so the tables have turned for today. We've got questions from Datuk as well to prompt our thinking. Okay, so now with that, thank you very much, Datuk. Now can we invite Ariya to say a few words on our topic today? Ariya? Ariya, can you please unmute your mic, Ariya?
Yeah,
Yes,
thank you, Daniel.
okay.
Yeah, I think it's a very fruitful day that all of us can gather and learn, and especially also from Dr. Charlie, from his very holistic approach in the practicing the Dhamma as a lay person, and incorporating Dhamma in the life, in the business. And I think with this exposure, we hope that all also are inspired that the Dhamma is not a religion, yeah. The Dhamma is a way of life. And this way of life is not just people think just the Buddha can do it, or people who renounce, or those other people, but it is a Dhamma that everybody can actually practice. And why we practice it? Because it leads to well-being. So all of us are seeking well-being in different ways, but the principles of being successful is being able to do what is right and what is true, so that in accordance to the truth, then of course that will be the result. Yeah. So this is a quite direct way of how we can really gain the knowledge on doing what is right in our life. As a householder, still accumulating wealth, because we need to sustain our life, sustain our family, and also in righteously gaining it, so we'll be happy. And because of our diligence and our rightful way to gain wealth, then it brings more and more happiness to ourselves, to our family, our relatives, our friends, and as a result also we can be able to benefit the society, the country, and many more other contribution that we can do. Yeah. And in so doing, we also will be able to have more time, yeah, when we have accumulate enough, like we said, a balanced life. Yeah. So it's not about greediness to acquire, but a proper way to acquire, understanding way to acquire, and therefore we will have more time after that to cultivate the mind further. And of course, the ultimate wealth, like we said, it leads to heavenly rebirth, in a way that how we can spend our wealth in the righteous way. Yeah? And ultimately, of course, we know that in life, this is helpful. And as we live, then we can try a balanced life to continue to develop the mind, and to ultimately able to fulfill the goal of our life, that is liberation. So it may take life to life, but at least in every life, we make the good opportunity to acquire the right knowledge, the right skill, the right virtues, and also the right wisdom. So we hope that this platform will help each and every one to really, actively be involved, because it's about our life, and to put it into practice so that we'll be able to develop whatever we need for our individual well-being, family well-being, our economical well-being, our spiritual well-being. So we wish all to be diligent, and because diligence is one of the key things for a lucky person, and to always keep our virtue intact, because that is a very important protection. And this is also a very big gift for the people around us and the people that come by our life, as we give this gift of the virtue. It's a gift of the Buddha said to be free from fear, free from oppression, and free from animosity. And in return, we also get that share. So this is a very important gift to keep the virtue, so that we can sleep well without having any guilt conscience or that kind of uneasiness in mind. And at the same time, as we continue to develop, that's where people say, success is where you have peace of mind, to actually acquire your wealth and to do your best, right? So wishing all good health and prosperity, and also continue to develop your spirituality and to gain the ultimate freedom one day. Thank you.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay, thank you very much, Ayah. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. May I now invite all brothers and sisters to thank Datuk Charlie for his kind sharing with us today. Okay, thank you very much, Datuk. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Datuk.
Most welcome. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Now, may I invite all brothers and sisters to join me in paying respect to the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, and Ayah by bowing 3 times. First bow. Second bow. Third bow.
Secure.
Thank you, Ayah.
Thank you,
Okay.
Ayah.
Next slide, Sister Andrea. Okay, now may we kindly invite Ayah to lead us in the sharing of merits to close today's session.
Our brothers and sisters in the Dhamma, again, recall to mind all the time that is spent together and coming together to deliberate the Dhamma, to learn and practice, and to put it into our life. And with these meritorious deeds that we have acquired, and the joy, and also the understanding, may this wisdom continue to bring you strength and confidence in walking the Dhamma's way, and to ultimately find true happiness and freedom. We like to share this merit and to also well wish that may all your good deeds, all your merits also, be extended to all your family members, wherever they are, and be an inspiration for them too, so they'll find happiness and freedom, and to all our relatives and friends. We will now also share this merit with the Devas, all the heavenly beings, Dhamma protectors, your guardian deities, and the guardian deities of Ariya Vihara and the surrounding, whether terrestrial or celestial, ready to partake this merit and rejoice. Akasattha ca bhummata deva naga mahittika punyang tang anumoditva cirang rakantu loka sasanam cirang rakantu desanam cirang rakantu mamparanti.
Next slide, Sister Andrea.
Etavata jamme sambatang punya samparang sabbe deva sabbe satta sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampati siddhya. Now we shall all also, having acquired the merits of our good deeds in listening to the Dhamma, and also rejoicing with the merits that we share with others and with the Devas, Now, sincerely also make your noble aspiration for yourself and also for the world. Emina punya kamena mame bala samagamo satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana patiya devo vassatu kalena sasra sampati hetu cha ito bhavatu loko cha raja bhavatu dhammiko. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay, Sukihoto. Sukihoto, thank you, Aya. Okay, dear brothers and sisters, we've come to the end of the session. This is just a quick reminder. Our next session will fall on 5th of December on Sunday, same time, 2 to 4 p.m. using the same Zoom link. So please check on the study material at Google Classroom next Monday. Next slide. Okay, with that, thank you very much, Datuk. Thank you very much, Aya. Thank you very much, brothers and sisters. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Okay, so have a great week ahead and goodbye.